Hi, I'm Isaiah Nelson, and I want you to picture for a moment that your working years are over, that after a hard, long, and fulfilling life, you finally reached your golden years. You've made it. But now, maybe for the first time in your adult life, you have to trust your well-being to others. You have to trust these caretakers will manage and support your psychological, emotional, and physical well-being so that you are as happy as possible. But instead, you don't find such happiness or care and instead are taken advantage of and abused in a number of ways. Sadly, this is the story of many elders in the world. Today, I will be informing my audience on the problem of elder abuse. In order to discuss elder abuse, I will first define what constitutes elder abuse and how rampant of a problem it has become. Secondly, I will discuss the causes of elder abuse. And lastly, I will describe how to prevent and stop elder abuse. So what is elder abuse? In 2018, Hannah Bowles, an assistant professor of criminal law, and Bridget Penhale, an academic researcher, said the World Health Organization defines elder abuse as an act of commission or omission of physical, psychological, financial nature, or other maltreatment that results in a decreased quality of life for the elder person. This means that elderly abuse is often formed out of other abuses that you may have heard of, which are physical abuse, emotional abuse, etc. But as a special abuse that isn't often heard of outside of elder abuse, which is financial abuse. And it's important to understand that you are liable for such abuse if you become aware of it and do not take steps to end it. But you may be thinking, is elder abuse really that big of a deal? Well, yes it is. Natalia Smith, a registered nurse, and Tanja Shub of Synthol Information Systems, in 2017 explained that a study was conducted that of the 42.2 million elders in the U.S. in 2016, 10% had reported experiencing elder abuse, but that it was estimated fewer than 20% actually reported abuses. Now that 10% may seem like a small figure, but that means that about 1 in 10 older adults experience abuse. And that because fewer than 20% actually report abuses, that means that there could be potentially millions of more elders who are experiencing abuses that we do not know about. And that as the elder population continues to grow, such abuses will continue to grow with them. So what causes abuse, elder abuse? Well, for one thing, it can be caused by negligence and incompetence. Sana Thakur, a reporter for the Gulf Times, said half of all reported cases are due to neglect, which involves the failure or refusal to fulfill one's obligations as a caretaker to the elder. This essentially means that caretakers oftentimes can fail to understand the needs of their patient, such as what they need to eat, the nutrients they need to get, or medicine, etc., and can result in negligent abuse. But it is important to understand that negligent abuse is still abuse. But that other half of elder abuse is caused by malicious and intentional acts of harm towards the elderly. In 2018, the magazine When the Ones You Love Hurt You the Most, a reporter, Susan Chenery, gave a perfect example of financial and maltreatment of an elderly person with the story of Janet McCosdy. Janet McCosdy was a 77-year-old woman who had dementia, whose care was placed in the responsibility of her daughter and son-in-law. But it was later revealed that she died in a shipping container from hypothermia after they had put her in there during winter. And that during their care for her, they had isolated her so that she wouldn't get the proper treatment that she needed, so they could take 3/4 of the money she had earned over her life and put it into their own pockets. But that's just one example. Today, I have another example of physical abuse from a healthcare professional.
Prakash Podell walks into court unaware he will be leaving in a prison van.
Do you want to say sorry to that family?
The 36-year-old jailed for at least 4 months for this attack, captured on a secret camera planted by the concerned daughter of a dementia patient in his care.
This just proves, and we've set a sort of a mark.
As you've seen and heard, elder abuse is perpetrated by those that are in charge of caring for the elderly, and they often take advantage of the isolation of the elderly or any underlying diseases they have, such as dementia, so that they can get away with such horrendous acts. But don't worry, steps can be taken to prevent and stop elder abuse. In the book Preventing Elder Abuse from 2008, Lisa Narenberg outlines how to prevent elder abuse by following a system of assessment that continually assesses the needs of the elderly. This means that as a healthcare professional, you can use systems to constantly be monitoring what that elderly person needs, so that you know what food they can or cannot eat, what nutrients they need every day, what medicine they need, and what specific care they may need, so that you can avoid things such as negligent abuse. And you can also take steps to monitor those who are in charge of caring for the elderly, so that way they are held accountable, and examples such as this do not occur. But if elder abuse has already occurred, you can take steps to prevent future abuse of that person. Mary O'Hara of Ophthalmology Times in 2018 described that if abuse is discovered, intervention is mandated and required by law in order to protect the elderly. As mentioned, you are liable if you are aware of elder abuse and do not take steps to end it, and that it is important to take these steps to end elder abuse, so that way future abuse of that elderly person does not occur, as oftentimes, if the perpetrator gets away with it, they will try it again, believing they will get away with it again. Ultimately, elder abuse is the tragic story of many elderly in the U.S. In the world. This mistreatment is not without cause, as some caretakers simply aren't competent to take care of their elderly. But, more often than not, these acts are malicious and intentional, and result from people not seeing the elderly as those that need care, but rather those they can take advantage of and harm. But it is important to realize that not only can elderly abuse be stopped after it has occurred, but various steps can be taken to stop it from ever occurring in the first place. That is why we must hold our caretakers of the elderly to a higher standard, so that way when you and I become elderly, we are cared for the best that we can be cared for. Thank you for listening.